understand how they would let him out if you told them that your brother shot Tevin. They wouldn't. They supposed to have him. Okay, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna find out.
A late summer Friday in Snellville turned from ordinary to unforgettable in minutes. Around 7 p.m. on August 8, 2025, Atlanta rapper T Hood, known offstage as Tevin Hood, was discovered at a residence on Lee Road with critical injuries from an incident that began as a dispute inside the home. He tragically passed away. Almost immediately, one name rose to the surface: Kai Lasheed, Kai Frost, the son of love and hip-hop, Atlanta figures Kirk and Rashida. Authorities emphasized a key phrase, possible self-defense, and noted that the individual who fired did not flee the area. He remained, spoke with detectives, and cooperated. That single detail shaped the first round of headlines and set the guardrails for everything that followed. Phones buzzed, neighbor group chats lit up, and speculative threads multiplied. Fans posted old clips, relatives shared memories, and bloggers tried to stitch together a sequence from fragments that didn't quite match. One constant never changed: a young artist was gone, and the facts of those final minutes would need more than comments and captions to be sorted out. But the story didn't stop at a police note and a press line. Within hours, grief, loyalty, and prior reality TV notoriety collided online. The same last name that made the situation instantly recognizable also made every new claim louder. And from that point forward, the public conversation split in two: the official version investigators were building, and the charged narrative the internet was determined to test, challenge, and rewrite in real time. To keep the record clear, here's the posture authorities laid out. Gwinnett County detectives described what happened as a domestic incident. They noted that a woman at the home reported injuries. The individual who fired remained at the scene and spoke with investigators from the start. Based on early interviews and initial observations, the case was framed as possible self-defense, and at that stage, investigators said they did not see signs of outside participants beyond the residents connected to the home. What does that mean practically? It means detectives are evaluating immediacy and proportionality, who initiated contact, what level of danger each person believed they faced, and whether any responses matched that perceived threat. They will weigh statements from everyone present, cross-reference those accounts against physical indications in the space, and look for consistency across timestamps. None of this is instant by design. A careful approach is not about stalling, it is about making sure conclusions rest on records, not reactions. Officials also understand that public interest is intense when familiar names are involved. Even so, their process stays the same: preserve the scene, interview those present, collect devices, and begin the methodical review of messages, calls, and any available footage. Possible self-defense is not a verdict, it's a starting lens, and it can shift as additional details surface. For now, that lens explains why immediate charges are not automatic, and why the next steps turn on documentation rather than trending posts. T. Hood's loved ones moved quickly and spoke with urgency. In their view, this was not a tragic argument that escalated. It was an alleged setup. They claim he was drawn into a confrontation, that multiple relatives became involved, and that parts of the scene were allegedly handled before authorities arrived. They point to the number and placement of injuries and argue that the pattern suggests something that went beyond stopping an immediate threat. Their posts gathered momentum, picked up hashtags, and called for community pressure, including boycotts of Frost-linked businesses and a pause on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta viewership until more clarity emerges. What gives their account weight with supporters is the timeline. They ask who placed which calls and when, why certain individuals allegedly left and others stayed, and how long it took for formal help to be requested. They also highlight social media activity, sympathy posts, and curated images that appeared swiftly, reading that as image management rather than mourning. Supporters see a through line, skeptics see grief translated into suspicion. Crucially, these are claims from family and supporters, not findings from investigators. The difference matters. If device logs, text threads, and location pings end up matching the family's sequence point by point, that would be powerful. If those data points contradict key parts of the narrative, that will be just as important. Until the records are examined and documented, the timeline remains the most contested and consequential piece of the puzzle.
Then they dropped the second recording that she told the police that her brother was the one guilty. Apparently, somehow, some way, he got let off, okay? He got handcuffed, and apparently he got out of that situation. But I don't know no situation where a person say you guilty that you related to, and you just get off.
In the middle of the storm stood Kelsie Frost, Kai's sister and T. Hood's partner, who posted publicly while still visibly shaken. She described T. Hood as the love of my life, denied asking anyone to harm him, and stated that the only call she made that day was to T. Hood's mother, not to her brothers. She insisted she would never direct anyone toward violence, and said the speed of the internet forced her to defend herself before she could process what had happened. That statement became a lightning rod because it goes straight to motive and sequence. If she didn't ring her brothers, how did additional Frost family members arrive so quickly? If she did, why say she didn't? The answers sit inside phone logs and message threads, not comment sections. It's also true that shock can lead to inconsistent behavior. People call parents, text relatives, and hesitate to dial emergency services because they believe the situation will stabilize. None of that, by itself, proves a narrative. In the public square, every phrase is dissected, but investigators treat posts as starting points, not conclusions. The cleanest tiebreaker is simple and boring: time-stamped records. Those entries don't emote and they don't try to persuade, they show sequence. If her logs align with what she wrote, it strengthens her position. If not, the discrepancy becomes another question investigators will press. Either way, her message ensured that the most personal parts of this story, love, fear, and grief, are now permanently interwoven with the factual dispute. Soon after, blogs and commentary pages began circulating unverified audio presented as a conversation between Kelsie and members of T. Hood's family.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to see what is going on. I'm
trying to figure out, sweetheart, why are you calling my business and asking me about my son?
Baby.
Like, I don't understand why you're even calling here.
Your son and my son been having something going on. I can give you your son's phone number right now. I have the message.
You said about my son, what?
Your son and my son been having something going on. I just went through my son's phone and I just seen what the fuck I seen. Now, Rashida, don't make me clan. I can give you your son's phone number. I can send you messages, baby. I have it all.
Okay, well, guess what? Do it.
Voices overlap, emotions run high, and online listeners claim they can hear references to a brother and to speaking with authorities, followed by an older voice promising to find out. As content, it is gripping. As evidence, it is unconfirmed. There is no publicly shared chain of custody, no official statement authenticating the file, and no assurance that the recording reflects an unedited exchange. Here's how such material is vetted when it matters. Investigators would look for the original file and device, verify that the call occurred at the time alleged, and match background artifacts, ambient sounds, notification pings to known phones. They would check for compression jumps or unnatural silences that hint at cuts, and they would confirm who is speaking through voice identification, not crowd speculation. If the audio passes those tests and the people on the line are verified, it becomes a legitimate puzzle piece. If not, it remains a powerful narrative accelerant that can mislead the public and intensify pain for those involved. So, for now, the fairest framing is the narrow one. An unverified clip is circulating. Listeners online claim it supports their view, and investigators, if they have it, will either treat it as a data point or set it aside. Until then, it's conversation fuel, not conclusion. A separate and equally charged development was a surveillance-style clip that reportedly shows an alleged physical altercation between T. Hood and Kelsie months before the August incident. Coverage suggests investigators are aware of the clip, and observers point out that, if authenticated, it could matter because it speaks to fear, risk, and a self-defense posture. The exact questions the official lens already highlighted, but the clip's value turns on two boring, critical words: date and provenance. A video without a verified timestamp and source can drift from key context to viral distraction. Courts treat older incidents with care. One side might argue that a prior episode explains why someone believed a threat was immediate. The other might argue that an earlier situation doesn't dictate what happened in a different moment under different conditions. The gatekeeper is the judge. Is the clip genuine, relevant, and more illuminating than prejudicial? If yes, it may be allowed as context. If not, expect it to be excluded or tightly limited. It's also notable that authorities already acknowledged a woman at the home reported injuries the night T. Hood passed. That fact, standing alone, does not decide the case. But in combination with authenticated context, it could shape how investigators and eventually a jury understand risk and response. Without authentication, though, the clip is just another contested element in a story already crowded with them. Kai Frost did not enter this quietly. He is known through his parents' long reality TV presence, and the family's business ventures, which means public scrutiny was guaranteed the second his name appeared in reports. Multiple outlets identified him as a person of interest or the subject of the ongoing inquiry, and early details stressed that he remained at the location and cooperated. Some observers noted that Kai later deactivated social media, which fueled speculation but by itself does not prove or disprove any claim. There's also real-world pressure outside any case file, brand risk. The Frost name underpins shows, stores, and music-adjacent ventures. When a family known for televised drama is linked to an off-camera crisis, every development hits louder. Supporters close ranks, critics rally around boycotts, and professional statements default to "we're cooperating." None of that answers the central questions investigators must resolve. Who acted first? How immediate was the danger? What choices did each person have in the moment? And what the forensic findings indicate about sequence and distance without delving into graphic mechanics. Reality TV can shape perception, it cannot overrule records. That's why for all the press heat, the decisive pieces are still the quiet ones, reports logged under oath, reviews by the medical examiner, and analyses that convert speculation into timelines. Here is what ultimately settles the dispute. Timestamped device records will show who contacted whom and in what order. Forensic findings will indicate whether the pattern of injuries aligns with a defensive response or something more deliberate, without needing to describe graphic mechanics. The medical examiner's review will clarify sequence and proximity in professional terms. Any admissible video properly sourced and dated will either reinforce or undermine claims about risk and behavior. And consistent witness statements, particularly from people with no stake in a TV storyline, will close gaps between the argument, the arrival of additional family members, and the last minutes inside that home. From there, two paths emerge. If records show Kelsie contacted T. Hood's mother, then emergency services, and logs do not reflect outreach to her brothers, that supports her statement. If the logs show the opposite, that inconsistency becomes a focal point. If investigators conclude the individual who fired remained and cooperated in a way that fits a defensive posture, that will matter. If they find reliable indications that others arrived in a way that escalated the situation, that will matter too. Either way, the answers are hidden in paperwork, not posts. Right now, officials have maintained the possible self-defense frame and said they see no sign of outside participants beyond household connections. That stance could hold or change as the review deepens. However it resolves, the outcome won't just settle a case, it will shape how people remember T. Hood, how they understand Kelsie's position, and whether the Frost name we've watched for years emerges steady or carries this moment as a permanent cautionary tale. Was this a domestic incident that spiraled under pressure, or, as loved ones allege, an orchestrated plan that ended in tragedy? The record will answer. Until then, the most honest stance is simple. Acknowledge the pain, label unverified material as unverified, and let the documented sequence speak when it's complete.